I'm 72 years old. My name is Margaret Harrison, and 3 months ago, the man I left 45 years ago showed up at my doorstep with a lie so perfect it destroyed everything I'd spent half a century building. You think you felt betrayal? Not like this. It was a Tuesday morning in March when my doorbell rang. I was making coffee for my husband Robert. We'd been married for 43 years. Good years, quiet years. I opened the door, expecting a package. Instead, I saw Daniel Crawford standing there. The man I was engaged to in 1979. The man I walked away from after he gambled away our down payment for a house. Maggie, he said, using the nickname only he ever called me. I need to talk to you. It's about Jennifer. My hands went cold. Robert was behind me, in the kitchen. Our daughter Jennifer was coming for dinner with our grandkids. It felt ordinary, safe. And that's what made it so easy to break. I should have slammed the door, but I didn't. I stepped outside onto the porch. I'm dying, Maggie, he said. Pancreatic cancer. 6 months, maybe less, and before I go, I needed to tell you. He paused. Jennifer is my daughter. The world tilted. I grabbed the porch railing. That's impossible. Jennifer was born in 1981. We broke up in 79. But we saw each other one last time, late 1979, the night you came to return my ring. You remember what happened? My stomach dropped. Because he was right. I went to his apartment one last time, and no, this couldn't be happening. You're lying, I said, but my voice shook. He pulled out his phone, hands trembling. I have proof. I found Jennifer on an ancestry website. We matched, father and daughter. He showed me a PDF charts, percentages, a law firm logo at the top, and an email address that looked official. I could feel my pulse in my throat. Why are you telling me this? I demanded. Because Jennifer deserves to know the truth, Daniel said. And because I have something to leave her. My mother passed last year. Left me a house in Vermont worth $800,000. It should go to my daughter. There it was. With Daniel, it was always the same currency, money. I want to meet her before I die, he said. I already emailed her. She'll see it tonight. I just thought you'd want to be the one to explain first. Get off my property, now. The door opened behind me. Robert stood there, confused. Honey, who's this? Daniel looked at Robert, then back at me. You have until tonight, Maggie. He walked away, leaving me standing there with my husband staring at me with questions I couldn't answer. That evening, I couldn't eat dinner. Jennifer noticed immediately. My daughter, with her warm brown eyes. Robert's eyes were blue. Mine were green, but Daniel's eyes were brown. For 3 days, I didn't sleep. I didn't tell Robert. Daniel called twice. I didn't answer. Each ring felt like a countdown. Then Jennifer called me, her voice strange and tight. Mom, I need to see you. Alone. Now. He'd sent it. All of it. When I arrived, Jennifer was sitting at her kitchen table with papers spread everywhere. Printed emails, screenshots, medical letterhead, DNA results with both their names on it. Is it true? She asked, barely whispering. Is Robert not my biological father? I wanted to scream that Daniel was a liar, but I couldn't, because the possibility that one night in 1979 sat between us like a ghost, and the doubt was written all over my face. Jennifer's expression shattered. "How could you?" she whispered. "How could you lie to me for 43 years?" "I didn't know," I said desperately. "Jennifer, I swear, I thought you were Robert's. I never questioned it." "But you slept with another man while you were engaged to Dad. It was before we were married. One mistake." "Does Dad know?" "No, and he can't. It would destroy him." She laughed bitterly. "Destroy him? What about me? I don't even know who I am anymore." That night, I sat in my car outside her house for 2 hours. Through the window, I watched Jennifer staring at those papers, her hands shaking. I still see it when I close my eyes. Over the next week, everything unraveled. Then Robert came home early. He sat across from me at our kitchen table and looked at me like I was a stranger. "Jennifer told me," he said quietly. "She took a DNA test with me. The results came today." I felt my world collapse. "It says I'm not her biological father." That's all he said. Robert stood up, walked to the guest room, and closed the door. The silence was worse than any scream. For 2 months, I lived in a house with a man who wouldn't look at me. He washed the same coffee mug 3 times without drinking. He sat in the living room at night, turning our wedding photo face down. He stopped saying my name. Jennifer met with Daniel. She hired lawyers. She inherited the Vermont house. And because Daniel had used cancer like a weapon, because he had paperwork that looked legitimate, she agreed to sell it quickly. Everything was rushed through paperwork and phone calls fast enough to feel real. Daniel told her he needed money for experimental treatment. His last chance. She gave him $400,000, nearly half of what she had. And I watched it happen, powerless, because every time I tried to warn her, she'd say, "You lied to me for 43 years. Why would I believe you now?" Those words still echo, but here's where everything changed. 2 months after Daniel showed up, I was going through old photo albums, desperate, looking for anything that might prove our marriage meant something. That's when I found it. A hospital bracelet from Jennifer's birth, and stapled to the back, something I'd never noticed, was a blood type card. Jennifer's blood type, AB positive. I pulled out my medical records. My blood type, O negative. Robert's blood type, O negative. My fingers went numb as I stared at those letters. A, B, 2 O negative parents don't make an AB positive child. At least, not in the world most of us live in. The DNA proof wasn't proof at all. It was a weapon. I took the bracelet and card to the hospital records office. I paid an independent lab to review everything. I verified Jennifer's birth records, the blood type tests. Then I hired a private investigator. I didn't confront anyone. I didn't argue. I verified, because arguing was what he wanted. My investigator slid the folder across the table. Daniel wasn't dying. He never had cancer. The DNA test? Fabricated. The emails, the letterhead, the lawyer, all carefully constructed forgery. Daniel was being investigated for fraud. He'd been running a scheme selling fake investment properties. He owed the wrong people money. The Vermont house existed, but it wasn't his. It belonged to a distant cousin who died. Daniel had forged inheritance documents. His plan was to have Jennifer sell it quickly, take the money, and disappear before anyone discovered the fraud. He'd chosen Jennifer through mutual friends and social media enough to know she'd be the perfect target, and that I had a secret he could weaponize. That one night in 1979 was his insurance policy. When I showed Jennifer the evidence, the hospital records, the investigator's report, she collapsed in my arms, sobbing. We went to the police that day. Daniel was arrested at the airport 3 days later, trying to board a flight to Mexico with money, some cash, some in accounts totaling $385,000. He took a plea deal, 15 years for fraud, forgery, and attempted grand larceny. But here's what they don't tell you about being right, about proving the lie. It doesn't fix what was broken. Robert came back to our bedroom after the arrest. He held me while I cried. He whispered, "I'm sorry. I should have trusted you, but something changed that can't be unchanged." Sometimes, late at night, I feel him hesitate before reaching for my hand. That split second of doubt that wasn't there before. Jennifer speaks to me now. We have dinner every Sunday. She brings the grandkids, but there's a careful distance in her eyes that never used to be there. Last week, my grandson asked me, "Grandma, why don't you and Mom laugh like you used to?" I didn't have an answer for him. Sometimes I stand at that front door and think about that Tuesday morning in March, about the 5 seconds between when I saw Daniel's face and when I stepped outside. If I had just slammed the door, would we still be broken? Or would the lie have found another way in? Daniel used my past against me. He built a perfect story on top of one moment of weakness from 45 years ago. And even though everyone knows the truth now, the damage is permanent. You can arrest the liar. You can expose the fraud. You can prove you were right. But you can't erase the 2 months when your husband looked at you like a stranger. You can't take back the moment your daughter's trust shattered. You can't unhear the silence in your own home. So, let me ask you something. If someone from your past showed up today with a lie designed to destroy everything you've built, even if you could eventually prove it false, would you open the door? Would you give them those 5 seconds? Because that's all it takes. 5 seconds, one lie, and 43 years of trust becomes something you have to rebuild from scratch. I'm Margaret Harrison. I'm 72 years old, and I learned the hardest way that some doors should never be opened, no matter who's knocking. If you were me, would you have opened that door, yes or no? If you were Jennifer, would you have met him before verifying everything? If you were Robert, could you have forgiven faster, or would you need time too? Tell me in the comments, because 3 months later, I still don't know if I made the right choice, and that's the part I'll live with.